So yeah, today I'm here. I'm the head of social at Shaw. I've been that since about the summer. Prior to that, I was head of online content at Shaw, where I've overseen content teams for about 5 years or so. I'm not going to talk about anything I'm doing at Shaw right now. This is more of an idea of something that I wanted to bring to the table. Something I love looking at certain industries or certain sectors of whether it be media, television, whatever, and thinking about how maybe we might be able to apply that to other things. So I guess I should probably pump this over. So I'm calling this Confessions of a Data Addict, or Why Innovation in Sports Broadcasting Matters for Reality TV. So I love a lot of the stuff that's going on in sports television and broadcasting right now. I think they're among the most innovative. And I look at that stuff and I think, why can't we do more of that in reality or factual programming? One of the things that, like as a kid, used to drive me crazy that the morning newspaper would come and by the evening it was out of date. And I would go there and I would write the updated stats. It was kind of my first second screen experience. It wasn't even a screen, but writing the Smythe Division stats out because they were updated because the paper was out of date. I hated that. So again, like it's come a long way in 30 years. There's a lot of great innovations in sport, but I just want you to look through the lens as we look at some great things that I think are going on in sport right now. How could we maybe use all this data, all this sort of information that's out there to be able to make better decisions around how we make television, but then also more interactive. Well, there we go. So here, boxing. I think boxing is one of the places where it's a pretty old school sport. Some great innovation going on in boxing. One of the things HBO is got a couple of things that I'll show you, but boxing, the way that it was really tracked, the sort of blow by blow, it was unchanged for about a couple decades. A couple of guys mashing away at computers, counting punches. Is it a body blow? Is it a head punch? Is it a jab? Is it a stronger punch? And that hasn't changed for years. They're literally just bashing away, counting these punches. And the great thing is at HBO they have actually somebody who is a VP of innovation and R&D who's completely unencumbered, no operational duties. Their job is to think about television, think about technology in ways to make the experience better. And one of the things that they launched a few years ago was something called Punch Zone. And so Punch Zone, it takes a lot of that data. I mean, there still is a human element. There still are people counting where that stuff goes. But within about 5 seconds from the time that punch is actually thrown, you can actually see it, whether it be on screen when they go to it and show, here's how Floyd Mayweather likes to punch between rounds 1 to 4 versus 5 to 8, or on the second screen device. Like it takes about 5 seconds from the time it goes, the punch lands and someone's feeling it all the way to when it's hitting your screen. So I think, again, instead of just going from raw data numbers to something that's really cool data viz, that's great. Now that's an innovation that they've made in the last few years, but now they're about to launch something here's a look at what the second screen kind of experience is like. They've integrated some social, and it's a great way to watch a fight. It's taken a sort of old school sport and really updated it for modern viewing. And this is something that they've been working on for 5+ years that I love. And it's something called Punch Force. And so they just had some FCC visits last year and got all this stuff approved. And it's gonna launch sometime this year. They keep saying 2013. But basically there's a little RF unit that's put inside the hand wrap of the glove that actually can measure punches landed, the force of the punch. It takes away that human element of people having to mash away. And literally from the time that punch is done, there's data all over the place. And so the other thing I love is they're not only just changing the way, it's going to change the broadcast, there's going to be a major reboot of the way HBO does their sport broadcast of boxing, which is a big, important brand for them. But the thing I love about it is that it's also going to change the sport. I mean, one of the biggest things boxing fans hate are controversial decisions. There's always, in a judged sport, we know that from figure skating here in Canada, people hate controversial decisions. This is the kind of thing that could potentially change the way the sport goes. So I love this kind of stuff. This is the kind of idea of people, again, kind of unencumbered of thinking how to make the whole experience better. I love this kind of stuff. And this is an example quickly of how it would work. But you can see, from the sensors going through computers, from the arena, going through the broadcast truck. I mean, this is really, really cool stuff. You can Google this. There's all kinds of really cool pictures of the actual tech from the FCC filings that show all the devices and how it works. It's really, really cool.
Can the viewers power up the gloves and make the punch harder?
That'd be amazing. Yeah, like extra points. I love that. So that's sort of one thing that I look at and think that's really cool, and there's taking things in a new direction. This is one that I also love. Full disclosure, I'm a fan of Manchester City Football Club, so I'm a bit of a fanboy, but they do social and digital probably the best among all clubs, I think, full stop, just in the world. They have a lot of resources, so they're able to invest in this kind of stuff. But they do a really great job. One of the things that I love that they did just this past year is they created a thing called MCFC Analytics. So what they did is there's a company called OptaPro, which basically tracks all football, European football across the world, every on-the-ball play. Someone gets the ball, are they passing, are they kicking, where on the field are they doing that? And they took all of that data and they gave it to the fans. They made it to the community. Just put your email in, we'll send it to you. And what they want is they want you to break it down, manipulate the data, and come back with ways that they never even thought about. So they use this heavily for scouting, their teams, their players, learning different things. The thing I love about it is that they basically said, community, people out there, you know, the Bill Jameses of the world from 30 years ago, take this stuff and tell us what's really going to matter. What should we be looking at in this data? You know, and we have a special interest in data viz, in seasonal player profiling, in position-specific metrics, things like that. Tell us about what we should care about. So I love this kind of stuff about giving all that data to the community, letting them manipulate it and come back in some way. And OptaPro, their data's used, and their TV broadcasting stuff, and they've done some really, really cool stuff in the UK. Well, so what the heck, you know, we come back to these guys here and what that means. And again, you know, I don't have all the answers on this, but I love what sports does when they take all this data and make this data available and are able to, you know, improve the broadcast, improve their product, and improve the overall fan experience. You know, whether I'm a hardcore fan, I can go super deep, or if I'm a bit casual, they can take that data and just make it a better experience for someone who's just lazy watching at home. So what happens here? For me, you know, I think that I've often sat at home and I've watched Dragon's Den and I'll say, you know, I wonder how often Mr. Wonderful actually invests in a property. Like, what are my odds of getting in there? What sectors does he invest in? How much, when he goes on average, how much does he actually put in? You know, what sector, you know, who am I more likely to get a deal from? All that kind of stuff, like almost taking historical data and making it available in some way. You know, I think that's sort of the hardcore fans would be able to latch onto that. But then I think there's also a way for the producer to be able to look, like I look at Survivor and Big Brother, there's a couple examples of people who are super fans of the show who go on as contestants, and there's this behavioral expectation of, okay, I know how this game works, I'm gonna go on. And the producers throw in that wrench and say, you know, you think you know how this works because you've studied closely and you're this expert of the game, but we're gonna mess with you this time. And I think that keeps those shows fresh, and it keeps, and that's why they're on, I would argue, among great characters and casting and all the other stuff. But being able to change the game a little bit and using that sort of data and information that they have, I think they haven't even gone as far as they can go. And in case you ever wonder whether that's like people care about data and reality, I'll leave you with this. And I think this is one of the coolest community finds I found last year. Someone on our team found this as they were doing a blog post for Survivor. There's a community called Survivor Sucks. They actually really love Survivor. They're not, you know, survivorsucks.com, but they love Survivor. And every week, and all throughout the week, they have this system called EDGIC. And basically, EDGIC is they're trying to figure out who's going to win Survivor based on the logic of editing. So they have it. They suggest that based on, they know from looking at an episode, you know, who's going to get booted out next week, and they've got a whole rating system. This is amazing. You got to go check this out. It's basically, you know, is someone OTT this week? Are they like over the top? Are they complex personality? Are they middle of the road? What's the tone? You know, what are they talking about in the interviews? You know, how many interview plays do they get? You know, what's their second person visibility? You know, they've got it down, and they keep adding new metrics. They started this for 2005, 2006. We never knew about it until earlier in the year. There's a Toronto-based student who goes to Stanford, an MA student who we found and interviewed her, and we're like, you know, why do you do this? It's like, for us, it's like trying to decode Shakespeare. It's like, we love this stuff. And so just tell us more, but there's a whole community that do this. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg, hardcore data fan, but we love it because, you know, we think, you know, yeah, that's sort of on the extreme, but we think there is a more broad way to use a lot of data, and there's definitely an interest in it and community interest that, you know, again, as you dig and you go out on the web and you look, it's out there. So I highly recommend go to Survivor Sucks or just Google EDGIC, and I think it'll kind of blow your mind a little bit about what people are doing around television that, again, not on your own and operated, just out there. And for them, it's the way that they now watch, they cannot watch the show without doing this. And I love that kind of stuff. So that's what I got.